bonus lesson in our factoring unit is going to be factoring type 2 trinomials. So we're going to take some notes on it. And what this does is take you through. So if you're going to want to split it in half, you'll see that type 2 trinomials, by definition, it's when the leading coefficient A is not 1. So I'm going to zoom in here, and these are similar to the notes that we took before about trying to factor GCF out. Finding factors of A times C that sum to B, replacing B with the factors you found, and then you factor by grouping. Step 3 and 4 are the ones that are different. You have to replace B with the factors you found, and then factor by grouping. That's one step. That's one way of doing this. The other way of doing this is called slip and slide. So first you slip A to the end by multiplying it to C. Then you find factors of C, and then you simplify if there is a fraction. You simplify if there's a fraction that goes in front of the binomial, and you keep working with it. So then, we're going to go through the examples. If you need to pause and take notes, go ahead and take notes. Let's continue on with example number 1. Example number 1 shows us if we multiply A times C, we would get factors of 6. From there, our factors of 6, we can see 1 and 6, 2 and 3. We now set up our binomials, right? Or we set up our new step. So it's 2x squared plus 3 at the end. What we said from our steps was that we need to replace B, so we need to replace B with the factors that we choose. If I look at this, if I choose 2 and 3, you're actually going to have a GCF here, so we're taking the 5x, and we're making it a positive 2x and a positive 3x. Do you kind of see how we've set it up so there's a GCF here and GCF here? Because now I can actually factor by grouping. So I'm going to set this up. Let's choose a different color. Let's set that up, and then let's set the other part up. So we can factor out a 2 here. We can factor out a 2x here. And then we're left with an x plus 1. And then we can factor out a positive 3 here, and we're actually left with x plus 1. My parentheses are the same, so I can set up my binomial. My binomial is, or my binomials are, x plus 1, and then what we factor out, 2x plus 3. So this method uses grouping, but you kind of have to play with the factors that you're going to use here so you could substitute this accordingly. So go ahead and try example number 2. You do the same steps as this example number 1. Go ahead and pause the video so you can try example number 2. Here are the answers to example number 2. If you notice, 1, 30, 2, 15, 5, 6. 5, 6 is the one, 2, 15 is the one that I used because it gets me to sum of B, 17. So I split it up between a negative 15 and a negative 2, right? We still use that whole A times C, sum to B, what's going to multiply, what's going to add up with signs, and then I factored by grouping. This is a slightly more difficult than the slip and slide method. Slip and slide allows you to just take steps and continue to go, right? Again, you can choose whichever method you want. You could do it by grouping, or you could do slip and slide. It's up to you on how you want to solve these, but you'll see that you still have to do A times C no matter what. Example number 3 is going to be slip and slide. All right, so this is going to be an example of it. We are going to slip 6 and multiply it to the 4. So I'm rewriting my problem now. Now it's y squared minus 5y, and we're going to make this a negative 24. Right? If I were to break it down more, I have a negative 4 times my 6, so then I get y squared minus 5y minus 24. Now it just looks like a regular trinomial type 1. So from here, we can find our factors of 24. Our factors of 24, if we were to list them out, are going to be 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. So which one will sum to my negative 5? It's going to be 3 and 8. So now I set up my binomials just like I would for type 1 trinomial. So I have a y, I have a y. I'm going to do a negative 8 and a positive 3, because negative 8 times 3 gives me a negative 24, but negative 8 plus 3 also gives me a negative 5. Now here's the part that most people forget to do. You need to slide. So the 6 that we brought over from before, we need to put that back and slide that back in here, right? We need to divide by 6. So you want to bring back your a that you multiplied. We are going to simplify this. So this becomes y minus 4/3 and y plus 1/2. Okay. If this ended up being an integer, this meaning here, when we simplified it, if it was an integer, it would stay the same. If you have a fraction, you need to slide the denominator kind of back in front of where a would usually be. So here, we'll move it back up. So now my answer is 3y minus 4. Take this, move it back up, 2y plus 1. This is how we get an answer so that when we multiply it out, we get our 6y squared. This seems a little bit longer, but again, it's just multiplying at the end and then remembering to divide it back and sliding our denominator. So go ahead and try the problems on this page. Use whichever method you want. I will tend to use slip and slide, and then you can unpause the video so that you can check your answers. Now that you've practiced, here are your answers for the rest of that page. Continue to practice this. It's going to take time.